Hey yo, and we are live. We are live again, and we got a show for you today. But before we do this show, I like to share with you some things I found funny online. You know, some really ridiculous shit. You come across Twitter. It's some of the stuff is like what the fuck. But I better set everything up. We got we're gonna let the room fill up just a little bit, but before we do that here, let me go ahead and put this in the chat here, so we have something to go by. All right, it's you, and then it's you. Okay, put that in my space. And we're gonna try to make this quick. So, allowing the room to fill up here, I would like to show you some shit that is so ridiculous. So ridiculous. This is not really gaming related, but it is pretty funny. So let me take a look here and show you guys some shit. Yo, people say that guys or dogs, right, are not smart. You know what I mean? They're just animals. But some of these shits that I see here is funny as hell, yo. Like, take for instance this shit.
Llama, 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 llama.
That dog was like, absolutely no. Absolutely not. That dog funny. Oh man. But we got a pretty decent show starting up today. This shit was ridiculous too, yo. Take a look at this shit. I don't think it's sound. That dude ran a red light, yo. This looks messy, right? But there's a silver lining. It's a silver lining. I was like, really? That shit was funny though. Oh man. Yeah, some of the shit that you will see on Twitter is like fucking absolutely ridiculous. So I gotta watch out on the stuff that I put on Twitter. But this was also funny too.
No fluff and shut. Hey Mary, how are you today? No fluff and shut. Of course.
I really can't say anything but the parroting with this one, but this shit's ridiculous. The fact that this little kid grabbed this dog up like that and bit him. My mom actually gave me a story like that. A dog bit her and she bit it back, and it ran all the way the fuck home, which was really ridiculous. But why the parents just letting them do this shit? You know, like what? Also, on TikTok, if you haven't seen this shit, this is funny as hell. So, if you guys are not on YouTube, this is going to sound really ridiculous.
Oh, what'd I do?
Keep holding it like that.
Oh! Oh!
You gotta be on YouTube to see what this is. It's fucking ridiculous.
Oh! Oh!
I promise you it's nothing sexual.
Oh! Man! Oh! 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 Oh!
Ridiculous. Yo, I'm gonna start doing this though. My man sound like this. Ridiculous. I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna start posting some of the stuff that I see on before the show starts. Some of the stuff that I see on Twitter. It's ridiculous. Like, how do you get horse jacked? This dude is literally on a horse and stole the lady's purse. Like, I'm trying to tell you, if you don't follow the YouTube channel, this shit's ridiculous. And then, can somebody please tell me what this shit is? So if you can see here, Exhibit A, it looks like somebody's on their tippy toes. There's some feet here, and then there's something sitting on the toilet. I don't know. There's so many theories to this. So somebody, I think this is the most logical explanation. I don't know why. Somebody. But where? That's not this. See this? It's not hands though. That's so ridiculous. Oh man, you gotta see that shit on YouTube. That's ridiculous. Funny shit. But enough of this. You guys caught me on spot here. Now I gotta do some work. But we have two subjects to talk about. We better get ahead of the game here. Where the fuck did I post my shit so I can have this shit available? I don't think it's this one. What's going on, Nelson? It's this one. Okay, cool. Show the thread. And then, then post this up here. Because I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this. All right. Let's go to my regular scene. So, yeah, we have a very controversial conversation. Very, very controversial. Not many people want to actually admit to this shit, but it is what it is. It honestly is what it is. The first thing that people need to understand is that this is not a dig at all Japanese developers at all. It really isn't. This is a situation where it's more personal than anything. So, Japanese do better with your games. That's my particular issue at this moment. I know a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, we got some Western games. They do all this stuff and they look sloppy and they just do microtransactions and blah, 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 blah. Which, by the way, Capcom was one of the people that did microtransactions. Like, they were heavy in that shit back in the PS3 era. So, I don't want to hear that shit. But there was a reverence when it came to Japanese games. Almost all of them could do anything wrong. Like, even their most simple games, their most AA games were like really outstanding. You know what I mean? And didn't have not that many glitches or anything like that. It was just an outstanding achievements left and right. You know what I mean? Back in PlayStation 1, you know, N64, you know, PS2, you know, Dreamcast, you know, those times, the Japanese were just hitting it out the park. You know, what's going on, Gaming Night? Yeah, what is it? Don't be sorry, be better, be better. You know, but for real though, I honestly, I concur. They need to be better. They absolutely need to be better. That's my problem. And I feel like a lot of people that do like Japanese games need to be honest with themselves. They really do. They need to be honest. This conversation really isn't about all Japanese developers, because I remember Capcom actually failed hardcore. Like, they failed miserably back in the back in the PS3. All Japanese people fell hardcore back in the PS3 days. And just some people were able to pick themselves back up again, you know. Even Sony had an issue with their Japanese team, you know. You go from something like Shadow of the Colossus, right, which is one of their teams, and, you know, then you just make games like Tokyo Jungle, which I guess a lot of people did like Tokyo Jungle, and I get it. But, like, let's be 100% honest here. Let's like keep it a fucking stack about the quality degradation. You know, you go from Resident Evil 4. It's touted as one of the best games ever made in that time frame, you know, back in, you know, the early 2000s. And then they got sloppy and ended up making Resident Evil like fucking 6 because they were trying to do too much. My boy Nelson Gaming is in here too, and we had like a little heated discussion here about, you know, whose fault it was. He ended up mentioning that it was the PlayStation, it was Sony and their obtuse PlayStation 3 architecture that caused its demise. But I'm like, well, other developers actually had no problem. Well, they had problems, but they were able to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and do what they need to do, and created some of the best games of that generation. You know, so I think part of the issue is the culture of Japan and just Japanese people in general. I mean, every culture has their, you know, their thing that they have going on with it. And Japanese people they're traditional. I feel like in terms of the older CPUs and GPUs, like, well, the GPUs back in the day, they weren't really GPUs. You had to make your own stuff from scratch, like from absolute scratch. You couldn't now with these newer GPUs, especially with the PS3, a lot of the effects that they would put in there, like normal maps and all of this other stuff, you could just turn on a switch, and depending on how much workload that the GPU had, would depend on if you could turn it on or off at that point in time. And I feel like the Japanese wanted to do their own thing, but never really did that type of work. And then try to do research on it and absolutely like massacre their fucking development like workflow, you know. I wish that they were able to let go of their traditions sooner in that generation, because we would have had some pretty amazing things. You have Metal Gear Solid, for instance. Konami was really fucking good. They had those Silent Hills. They had the Metal Gear Solids that were really fucking crazy. And then Metal Gear Solid 4, which to me was such a step back, and that's putting it lightly in my opinion, from the other series. As a matter of fact, let's go into that. Metal Gear Solid 1, right, for the PS1. What they ended up doing was creating a genre in the third person or third 3D space, right? Where it was stealth, cone vision, and stuff like that. The radar. It was the intricate storytelling. Nothing was doing that at the time at all. So there was like literally the first people that really have like such a cinematic gameplay flair. It was like absolutely cinematic. And then Metal Gear Solid 3, they took it a step further. No more were this was a later release, but like no more of the fixed camera angles. You were able to spin the camera around you wanted, however way you wanted to. Deeper AI AI routines. You had all new camouflage system. I don't think any other game did that kind of camouflage system where you had so many outfits and the game engine was able to kind of pair the colors with the environment and could tell how much you were camouflaged within there. And then you had the grass and you had the mud and you had the animals and stuff like that, and the booby traps. It just was such a massive leap forward. And then what the fuck did Metal Gear Solid 4 do that was innovative? You know what I mean? Like the sneak, that cloaking, that suit, that camouflage suit would have been good if that was introduced in Metal Gear Solid 3. But now you're so far into the future, forget you taking the texture and the texture and color from your environment. You need to just be straight up invisible. You know what I mean? So to me, the cloaking suit from Metal Gear Solid 2 was better than what they had in 4, but then that was the only shtick that they had, really, in terms of gameplay. The AI was simpler. I mean, everyone took a hit. But this isn't really about those particular, studios, because we kind of already know. We kind of already know the story behind what happened in the PS3 era. Like, we get it. We absolutely get it. It was a mess. And Capcom made a lot of mistakes with their fighting games and their Resident Evil, and they decided to pick themselves up by the bootstraps and do something innovative. Even Konami, before the debacle what happened with them, they decided to take back their franchise because they were giving it or leasing it to Americans, and they took the Silent Hill franchise and gave it to Kojima, and then he made one of the scariest games of all time before this whole thing collapsed. So it looked like they were getting their stride, and you know what I mean. Even Squaresoft and Square Enix was having a little bit of a trouble back then, and they started kind of leaning into what they do best, you know what I mean, and started making things. But then you have stuff like Platinum, right? Now Platinum separated from Capcom, right? So that was the particular issue. This, by the way, is a very old shirt. Like 2007, whenever this was, the DC versus the Mortal Kombat series. If you're wondering what the fuck I'm wearing, but you look at them. They broke away from Capcom and made their own thing, and they did the Wonderful 101. That was a shit show of a game. And then they turned around and they tried to do like a Devil May Cry type game, which was Bayonetta. They didn't even bother trying to make it run well on a PS3. And I heard that, this is courtesy of Nelson Gaming that's in the chat here. Straight up, like, Sony had to pay a lot of developers money to really put the effort in. And that's fine. Sony had to do what they had to do to rectify the issues that they had before. But they just continued to make these fucked up old ass games, old ass, I don't know, like their battle and fighting engines and animation systems are PS1-esque, honestly, and it just ran terribly, and it still runs terribly. You know what I mean? They have a pretty big budget that Nintendo gives them, and it still runs terribly. And then you have Game Freaks, which this is one of the things I actually wanted to show you. That's acceptable to the community, which is fucking crazy to me. So, just looking at this shit, actually, I'm just gonna mute this. There's no need for the sound there. Let's look at this shit in detail, right? This game was Nintendo actually coming out and trying to make like an open world Pokemon game, or at least Game Freaks, I believe is what they are. That's a typical bug right there. You can go through things that Pokemon are disappearing. You know what I'm saying? You disappear. You're not even in the map. Horrible animations, horrible performance. And I think people are starting to take notice of what's really going on. This is the type of stuff that there's a lot of fans for Japanese type games. And your character enlarging, like this is bad. The problem what I have when it comes to a lot of Japanese games is that there are a lot of fans of Japanese games, and they will sit there and won't even admit of the problems because they like the aesthetics. That's a bad thing. That's bad. This shouldn't be like this Pokemon thing, which is in this particular space. That shouldn't be. All of this, what you're seeing here, is a no-go. And people continue to buy their stuff. I'm not mad at you buying it, but damn, don't y'all want some quality? Like, don't y'all want... And the energy is never kept for anyone else. Nintendo is like the most egregious out of all of these developers, or anything that Nintendo touches. You know what I mean? There used to be like a Nintendo seal of quality back then. And then even them, like, as much as Zelda was a good game for a lot of people, it still had a lot of issues performance-wise. And then you see people on the internet literally just giving this whatever, like oh, it's okay, I get it, they're small, or I get it, it's so charming, and no one's calling them out. That's what this space is about. Like, in terms of Bayonetta as well, no one's calling Platinum Games to do better with their engine. And people can sit there and blame the Switch for doing it. Well, they need to scale down on their ambition or whatever graphics that they're doing, or put it on another platform, or whatever the case is. I can't even say put it on another platform. Basically, if your vision can't handle it, just like with PS1 and PS2, you got to cut back on some places. But the thing is that other developers are doing it on that same console and doing it better. If you couldn't do a 60 frames per second game, don't even bother. Don't even bother. That's the problem. Don't even bother. The energy is never, ever, ever kept when it comes to a lot of Japanese games, because they feel it's a part of a lot of, mid-20s, late 30s. It's a huge part of their childhood. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't want to evolve or change, or they don't like change. They don't want any of this shit. So, like, that's the biggest problem. They allow them to do this thing because they are the only ones that are making these type of games, instead of demanding more out of these developers. I don't care what hardware it's on. Everybody And look, do what you want to do, but in my professional opinion, everyone should definitely not support stuff that is just of poor quality. Period. I don't understand how a lot of these gamers, you know, there's a lot of gamers in the world, right? Or in the gaming space that are such elitists. They are so elitist that they don't like they have the crazy expectations for everything else but these games. These games could run terribly. It can have all the glitches in the world. It can use animation routines and cycles all the way from PlayStation 1, and no one says anything about it. They don't advance the genre or advance the industry in any particular way. And the little things that they do, it gets blown out of proportion. Tell you what, let's go in detail on Twitter. Let's talk and let's see what some of the people say about this shit, right? Now, what I personally say, right, is this is obviously not all Japanese developers like Capcom or Square Enix or Namco. They're all top tier, right? But then there's Platinum and Game Freaks. Generally, Japanese developers tend to stick to the mechanics that are over 20 years. And that's my problem. Not only that, but like even if you do the slightest like little progression, then they get praised for the littlest things. Why is that? So shout out to Get on the Sticks, right? He says, listen, I'm not Mr. Performance, but it would generally seem that buying Pokemon Scarlet and Violet without evidence of some sort of considerable patch is rewarding complacency on behalf of Game Freak and TPC. So somebody says, except the fact that resistance is baked into their model. So being any of resilient, it is the equivalent of smearing shit on the walls and calling it art. And that's the problem that I'm seeing. I mean, and this is what Get on the Stick says as well. He says, I mean, you could do your part and not buy it. Just depends on how much you care. Having played the last Pokemon game this year, I'm appalled at how much worse the game's performance is. I remember Days Gone getting crucified. I remember that. I remember The Last of Us, there was an animation issue with the arm. I remember people saying Ubisoft syndrome and open world shit, right? I remember all of those things. And yet it's such an interesting take on things that some of these people that are fans of Japanese gaming are like. They can get away with everything. Doesn't matter who it is, they can get away with everything. Why is Nintendo able to do what they do? And no one says anything. Why is it that is my question. Why is it that Capcom, this was years ago by the way, could literally have all of their characters on the disc and lock it out until you purchase it? Why is that? Why can Namco Bandai release a Tekken game that barely looks better than the PS3 iterations, except they added motion blur, and it's at a much lower resolution than most games in general that are doing much more? You have Mortal Kombat doing a whole bunch more than a lot of fighting games, even to this day, and people would just ignore it and allow them to do whatever the hell they want to do. Because I like their style, I guess. You know what I mean? You accept it because no one else is doing it. You know? It's the equivalent of getting, mediocre for JJ. if you're a cis male, you know, and that's the only vajayjay that you get, and you're just like, well, screw it, you know what I mean? Literally, but like, you know, you're like, I mean, it's okay, like, no standards, my guy, no standards. None of you guys have standards. The people that allow for these companies, these Japanese companies, to do what they're doing, I think you need a reminder of what Pokemon looks like. That shit is garbage. How is it that they can get away with stuff like that and other games literally get crucified? How is it? How is it? How can this be? Characters that are enlarging, clipping through the ground, you falling through the fucking floor. And then look at that. Look at this Pokemon. It's a motorcycle Pokemon. Like, we have so many billions of insects and trillions of bacterium and viruses for you to take inspiration from. And instead of you doing that, instead of you making some sort of, I don't know, like a mount that looked like a hippo or a dinosaur, even like, you know, Horizon Forbidden West, you decide to make a motorcycle Pokemon. A Pokemon with keys. A key Pokemon. That's what you guys are like literally picking. And saying, this is good. I can take this. This is okay. I'm good with this. Does that bother you? Shut up. Shut up, Ken. But you know what I mean? Like, does that bother you? And then, you know, I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and he goes on, he says this, which is pretty funny. He goes and he says, I'm thinking about getting Pokemon. Velvet and, I don't know what the fuck it is. Velvet and something. Scarlet and some shit. Whatever it is. And I was like, okay. Aren't you the one that bought a PC and said that you can't tolerate such low performing games? Then that was you, right? Didn't you say that? Now you're playing a game that is basically 1440p. Frame rate is between 15 and 30 frames a second. And then you have glitches all over the place. No anti-aliasing. You have all these weird things that's going on. And I'm a fan of Pokemon, he says. You don't know, I'm a fan. I'm not saying I was going to get it. I'm just saying. I'm like, yo, but the rhetoric around the gaming community, right, was that I'm going to get a PC because these consoles are not powerful enough. But because there's a certain genre, I wouldn't buy this shit. Oh, well, let nature take its course. The whole Darwinism. Let nature take its course. Die. Development team. Oh, well. You didn't do your part. I can't even get mad at Gravity Rush and shit like that, you know, because actually I can on that one. I ain't gonna lie to you. And Gravity Rush was a very unique game, and there were some things that they were really trying on, and they didn't get the support that. So, and I'm not talking about advertisements and stuff like that, because they put the demo free on PSN, and all the weebs that was gonna pick that shit up, man, they didn't pick that up at all. Sometimes stink for JJ can do wonders for the morale. Ridiculous. But it's funny though. You see all these games getting crucified. I'm not going to pick up Gotham Knights because Gotham Knights, the performance is terrible. I got to get a PC and make sure that I can get the best experience ever. And then you play something like Stranger's Paradise and Pokemon Velvet and Prince or whatever the hell it is. You know what I'm saying? And that's ridiculous to me. Complaining about a boat animation, yo, but you can use these animations are awful. Awful. I can't even say too much about Stranger Paradise. I didn't even play it, but I did see how it was running, and not from Digital Foundry either. For all the people that sit there and think that I live on Digital Foundry, I saw it in action. It is bad. And all you guys can do is sit there and be like, well, we need to support the game. If we don't support it, we'll never get these games anymore. That's what you guys are saying. If we don't do it, we're going to lose these games forever. So you keep buying these games at full price, though. You do it to yourself. You do it to yourself. That's what it is. We better go on to the second topic here. This is the thing, right? Because there was some interesting... Oh, shit. Hold on. Somebody, a new challenger. Let me add this. Mr. Man as a speaker here. I didn't even see you, my good sir. Listen to what you dip out for? I promise you I'll sneak in and sneak out. I didn't see him. There you go. Hold on. Approve. Hey, listener, speak. What's going on, man? What do you have to say about all of this?
And what I want to say is, all this is that there's some sort of like generational satisfaction, as in just to satisfy the current generation. Because I'm a huge fan of Pokemon right from the golden age of Pokemon.
Right?
But I didn't like what Pokemon is now. Because it's as if you're turning these monsters into, like, I don't know what to say, combination of a vehicle and a monster. I'm like, is this like making it into a transformer?
Look, no shade, man. No shade to the people who can see whatever vision that they're doing. I can't see it. To me, like I said before, you have so many different animals and organisms to take like inspiration from, and you're making garbage bags and keys and motorcycles as Pokemon. That shit is wild to me.
I don't know. It's kind of wild, and I'm just like, this is why I cannot even be a huge fan of the franchise anymore. Even though I'm kind of behind.
But like, you get this situation where it is behind, right? It's behind, but people are so afraid that they will lose. They're so afraid that they'll lose the franchise. You know what I mean? So they just, they take it up the fucking butt. Apparently, like, to me, I wouldn't be able to accept that.
Yeah.
What games do you find yourself liking? Is it mostly Japanese games? Is that what's going on?
No, mostly like JRPG.
JRPGs. What's your favorite one?
Final Fantasy.
Which one?
7.
Remake or original?
The remake.
Okay. See, they could have just as simply changed the models, redid the backgrounds, maybe make it 3D if they were really feeling froggy, and they didn't do it. They went above and beyond, and I was saying it before. It's not all Japanese developers. You know what I mean? It's just certain ones. And
Western developers.
Say again?
Western developers.
What about them?
As in, the majority of people that created Pokemon, the current development of the game, is mostly Western.
Is that what Game Freaks are? I thought they were part like Japanese.
Yeah, I think majority of them, I think like 80% of Japanese at the time of the Golden Age, and 20% were Western.
Huh.
And right now with this new gen, I think they upped the ante by making it, let's just make it 80% Western, 20% Japanese.
what I don't understand, right? This is what I'm like failing to get from them, right? This is the thing that really bothers me. Is I don't understand. Okay, if Square Enix could sit there and take their franchise, and including Capcom. Capcom is taking their shit, right, and they're elevating their shit like by a good amount, right? I mean, they're really like the Resident Evil 4 remake is literally like taking their original base and completely changing it or turning it on its head. You know what I mean? So,
and I understand that because that's a really good reimagining of the game. Even though a lot of people have been trying to convince Capcom that no, don't remake Resident Evil 4 because it's okay as it is.
Right. But they have the potential to, like, they could have just left it as is, and they didn't. You know, they want all, because they already know, this is the thing, right? Capcom almost went under, and they know how that shit feels if they are not putting their all into it, and how quick you can lose it all. And this is the thing that I'm not understanding. Nintendo consistently, and this is mostly a Nintendo situation, because even with Zelda Breath of the Wild, they had performance issues. They allowed Bayonetta to come out there as a 60 frames per second game and run at like 15 to 40. You know what I mean?
They changed also the voice actress.
Well, she changed, right? Because, well, we already heard about that shit. Like, that's not Nintendo's. I wouldn't say that's not Nintendo's fault, though. You know?
No, it's the developer's fault.
I wouldn't even say it's the developer's fault, though. I wouldn't say that. Why you say that?
The reason I say that is only because that I was okay with the original voice actress, unless she probably did some crazy or shady stuff with the company, and that's why they didn't want her.
Well, she literally, here's the thing, right? She wanted more money. And they tried to give her, oh, you didn't hear about that. I see. Okay.
I think that's what messed her up.
She wanted more money, and what she ended up doing was lied about how much money they were giving her. Right? Wow. Usually voice actors, right? They only work for like 5 hours or 6. You know what I mean? You don't need strenuous hours all day and all night. And especially for a game like Bayonetta that has a small, they don't have voice acting like galore. It's not like a Grand Theft Auto game or a Naughty Dog game or anything of that nature. This is like strictly, you say a couple lines, right? So they say, right? I believe she had like 3 or 4 hours to record the thing. And she said that all they offered her, she started mentioning her accolades. She said that all they offered her, right, was $4,000. And she was like, I do this, this, and this. You know, I have all these degrees and awards. And they offered me $4,000. Now, what she didn't tell him is that every hour was like $4,000. And a total of $15,000 for like 4 hours of work, right? She mentioned how she was on the streets, how she couldn't pay her bills. You know what I mean? So she demanded that the game be boycotted. And she didn't even tell everyone that people like that Platinum Games tried to renegotiate with her with royalties. And what she wanted was the money, a lump sum of money, probably like $50,000, and royalties.
Wow.
Word got out. I think Jason Schreier actually put her shit on blast.
And you will work more on that game.
It's not even a lot of stuff that she's doing. Jason Schreier put her ass on blast, right? Yeah, $15,000 for 8
Makes sense.
Yeah. So they didn't give it to her. So she went online and was like, boycott this game. Like, screw everybody else that made that game that took like 5 years to make it. Screw everybody. I don't care. So that's what happened with her. You know what I mean? So I get that you like Japanese RPGs and stuff like that, and Square Enix is doing their thing. You know what I mean? But you got a lot of different things. You got a lot of different developers that are not putting a lot of work in there. And I get it. Not everything can be AAA, and nor am I saying that it should be AAA. That ain't what I'm saying. It shouldn't be a AAA. Not everything is a AAA game affair. Me and that guy Ken or TGK were talking about. Sometimes you get like a little bit tired of the theatrics of a AAA game. You know what I mean? And it just get tiring. You know? He's like, I just want a simple game. Oh shit, he fell out of here again. My bad. You there? Yep, you can hear me. Yeah, so sometimes you get a situation where you just get tired of AAA games, you know what I mean? And you want something simple. So no one's saying that every game needs to be a AAA game. That's not what we're saying. But at least what you can do. Another argument too. We had like, what is it? From Software. A lot of people really love that developer, and it's like they don't try to progress their games that much at all. That's how I see it. Your mechanics that they have is the same as their game that was on PlayStation 1 with the class system. That was a first-person game, though. And then they did Tenchu. They were good with that one. And then when they did PS3, they tried something new, which was that Dark Fantasy Demon Souls. And that's what catapulted like Dark Souls. And that's fine. That was continuing on with Dark Souls. But then you look at a game like Elden Ring, right? They simply reused the assets of Dark Souls 1, to me, that type of shit is unacceptable. You got like a huge.
I didn't even like that game because that game makes people to rage quit a lot.
And then yeah, but like the problem here is that people were saying that it was game of the year, and and I'm like, how is it game of the year? Because of what reason? You don't have a swim animations, you don't have a shimmy animation, you don't,
And there's no storyline.
And there is, and that's what I want to talk about, right? So we might as well just get right to it, right? I'm gonna read to you what this guy named Gene Park says. I'm sure you probably seen him around. Mr. Gene Parks, or Park, or whatever the hell his name is, right? He goes on the interwebs, right? And he's like, let me see here if I can find it. Here we go. Let me just enlarge my screen here. He says this: discounting Elden Ring as a good narrative because you need YouTube videos to understand is kind of telling on yourself. He says it is like saying James Joyce shouldn't be considered the greatest 21st or 20th century author because you didn't understand Ulysses. So if you look at this, right? I looked up the definition of narrative. A spoken or written account of connected events. A story, right? So, by definition, Elden Ring does not have a narrative, per se. You have lore, like we always been saying, but not a story. I mean, not a narrative. Going on to what he tried to fight himself and say, right? He says Elden Ring isn't my favorite narrative of the year. It's like Ragnarok, it's Ragnarok, like I said. But what he's trying to do here is try to play both sides of the fence. Is what he's really trying to do, which is super annoying. He's trying to be a neutral, but really what he's doing is trying his best, right, to not show his bias. But we all know what his bias is. He's another guy. I think he's Asian too. But he's another guy that likes Japanese games over the other games. But he says that Ragnarok is his favorite narrative. But we shouldn't be discounting it just because you needed cliff notes for it. If you gone to school or did any type of fucking scholastic work, man, like narrative, a beginning, middle, and end, something written in some sort of order. When you start off Elden Ring, right? They're not telling a story. And you're not reading a story either. Unless you count picking up a random item as a story. That's not telling a story. Which means that it's not a narrative. He goes on to say, for me, Ragnarok just barely edges out Xenoblade 3 as this year's best story. Ragnarok lands its themes and ending a bit cleaner than Xenoblade does, as amazing and beautiful Xenoblade was. And then he goes in here and he says, in my opinion, the definition of a great video game storytelling needs to extend beyond here is a cutscene and some actors with some dialogue. The medium has already accomplished this, but critical discussion and literacy of this is still lacking. What do you got to say about that?
Okay, what I can say about that is that Elden Ring is it's kind of an irritating game. Because it's really quite an irritating. Unlike Ragnarok is really better because Santa Monica Studios, they really went off the bat with that.
Right.
Yeah, they really pulled things off with Ragnarok. Because compared to God of War 2018, they pulled everything off. And that's why they were able to get Game of the Year at that time. So and without a shadow of a doubt, they're going to get Game of the Year again this year with Ragnarok.
So do you believe that, and this is what I mean by, once again, Japanese games, they get a pass for some weird reason because there's a certain style that no one else is doing that people like. I mean, everyone has their style, but they like this one and they give it a pass. Maybe because they feel like the Japanese don't have the money, which they do. I don't know where they feel. It's like they are the underdog, which is interesting. So my thing is this: do you feel like Elden Ring has a narrative?
Okay. I don't think it has a narrative.
The funny thing is, I asked one of its hardcore fans, what exactly was the story about in a nutshell, and they weren't able to answer my question. That's how you know there's some salt in that fucking wound. That's how you know. Oh, here you go. Show shit. Kerr, if narrative is storytelling, verbally or written, Elden Ring fits that. The overall story is to become the Elden Lord. The item descriptions, side quests, cutscenes pad the narrative while your adventures. It's cryptic, yeah, but it is narrative. Okay, so let's go based off of that, right? Is it good narrative? What's going on, Fatal? Is it good narrative? Is the question. Fine. You say that's considered narrative. I'm thinking that narrative it needs to have some sort of chronological order. He says, I think so, but that's my opinion. What do you like about it? Let me ask you that, Kerr.
I don't think he's answering.
No. He's here. He's here.
Or is he DMing you?
No, he's on my YouTube channel.
Oh.
He says, I love the world building, but that's what lore is. Lore is really world building.
It's almost the same with art direction. Art direction is almost the same thing.
Finding out, okay, America is, I ain't saying that. There was a stab in this. That was a stab in the story. All right. I mean, you seem like a person that likes the Souls games, or maybe just Japanese storytelling in general, or Japanese gaming in general. You don't think that you're being easy? You don't think that you're being easy on that game? I mean, you didn't even look at it like this, right? If the story was such a strong component to the Souls games, right? If it was such a component and a strong component, why did people they were like, I don't want to have spoilers. You know what I'm saying? No spoilers. No spoilers. What about that? No one did that.
You know, no one didn't even spoil the game because the game doesn't have like I don't know how can I say it like something that you can easily relate with.
But seriously, I know you. I mean, you said you're gonna join the Twitter space, right? And send a message on PSN when you're ready to join. But tell me on this one, right? What exactly? How come people weren't saying, "Oh, don't ruin," you know what I mean? Don't ruin Elden Ring story on blocking everybody that's going to ruin it, or I'm going to filter out words and stuff like that. Why not that? Why don't the Souls games get that type of treatment? So I guarantee you, something like Lord of the Rings or something like
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit, something like what do you call it, Game of Thrones. If you want to talk about deep stories,
Game of Thrones.
right? If they were to make a continuation or a season, what is it, 7? And if I were to say that, and if I were to say,
in collaboration with J.R.R. Martin, which created Game of Thrones in the first place, that Elden Ring.
so you say raise the tarnish, right, and become the Elden Lord. Now, don't mention any spoilers about God of War as I had not beat that game. I would say I did see people say don't spoil the boss fights. No, the boss fights ain't, but that's not narrative. Because they don't want to see how you beat the boss. That's like gameplay spoilers, you know what I mean? Not story spoilers. So you can't use that. And on top of it, like if you want to relegate it to that, man, we all know the ending of Ragnarok, right? If you know Norse mythology, that's pretty much out there. If you wanted to take it there to say that, oh, rise, tarnish, and become the Elden Lord, right? Okay, that's an objective, not a story. I mean, or even God of War 2018. Oh, take the ashes of your wife to the highest tower. Like, come on, bro. Yeah, you get a storyline, but people don't want to spoil the boss battle, so they want to get there fresh. They're not saying don't spoil the boss battle because of story.
But that's like annoying me because that is two different perspectives. Boss fights is different from story spoilage.
What he's saying is that because the question that I posed to him, right? Why is the objective not considered a story? So then, the boss fight has story spoilers though, but that's not why people say don't spoil it though. People were saying don't spoil about the boss battle because they didn't want to be shown how to beat the boss. No one was talking about story. So to answer your question, TGK, people were like, so objective is it is considered part of the story or considered a story. But we're talking about narrative.
Right.
Anything could have a fucking story. What I've done today could have a fucking story. You know what I mean? I don't know why people say don't spoil it. I know for me, I don't want to see any of the major because you are a fan of the Souls games. We're talking about like in general. Like I said, if they decide to make another Game of Thrones episode, and if I had privy to that information, I start posting that shit up, I would get crucified. Because again, a story is just the path you take, and a narrative is how you tell it. How you tell it, what order you tell it from. Narrative is a story beat, right? Well, I already answered that question. But like, I'm not going to say it's better or worse than God of War. Just different ways of telling or storytelling. I will say that it's a worse narrative. We're not talking about story. We're talking about narrative, though. How good is the narrative? I don't think that Elden Ring should be up there with best narrative at all. I feel like Stray has a better narrative than fucking Elden Ring. Overall lore and story, hell no. With the way that they convey their story, because it has a syntax. Elden Ring doesn't really have a syntax to their story. I mean, if you want to look at it in that regard, then it's not good storytelling. I wouldn't even say that it's not unorthodox. It's just not good storytelling.
I don't even like the game, even though I have not played it.
You say you have not played it?
Yeah, Elden Ring.
Well, why would you play? Why would you consider playing Elden Ring for you?
No, I'm not playing it. I'm not playing it at all. It's just that I don't like it.
No, I'm saying why would you consider it if you ever would?
No, you don't get the point. I said I don't like Elden Ring.
But let's say you did though. Why would you? What would interest you?
Nothing would interest me at all because I just see it as if you're just it's like an endless quest or an endless adventure game.
So you want to know something?
You kind of remind me of this online Final Fantasy game.
You want to know something? Here's my story for my day, right? If you want to talk about story and what's a good storytelling and what's just story and what's narrative, right? Since everything can be a story, right?
Yes.
Today I had to go to work. So it started off with me waking up, brushing my teeth, taking a half shower, going to the gym, coming back to my job, taking a full shower, speaking to customers, consumers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to the store, taking a nap, and then doing this podcast. That's me telling the story of my day.
Yeah.
Right? Now I can add some fluff to the shit. I woke up by the sun blazing through my eyelids. I just realized it's another work day and I have to trudge through 4 hours of hell. Fair enough? Let's get this over with. I don't feel like actually going to work, so I'm not going to be fully invested in my shower. I'm going to take a half shower. And on my way to get myself a hot cup of coffee, en route, someone cut me. That would be storytelling.
Yeah.
That's storytelling. Not just saying I met this person, and like, that's what I mean. See, the way that Elden Ring and From Software tells a story is that it would be the equivalent of someone walking into my house and trying to put the pieces together of the story itself. His door is half cracked. This dude has a lot of hair in the fucking sink because he washed his hair apparently. This dude has
He's been shaving his beard in awkward pieces.
Right. There is a bottle of lotion and a crunched up napkin near his desk. One could automatically assume he watched X videos. That's how they put their story together. That's how they do it. That's not really telling a story though. What's the item description of the lotion?
That was a crunch up lotion with the.
That was your apartment mistress. No, I'm just look. This is how I see how Elder Ring is telling their story.
Because you know what Elder Ring almost look like? It almost look like as if you just it look like a piss bucket.
I mean,
That's what it is.
I get that people like this story and they like that type of lore. I totally get it though, but like, I don't think it should be in the position of. I don't think it should be in the position of like narrative. World building, maybe. You know. Shit, fucking Shadow of the Colossus. In terms of the narrative, they did a lot with the narrative without saying a lot of things. But again, if you look at it, they weren't really relying on you to put things together. They actually told a story. Did you use Johnson & Johnson or Shea Butter? Nigga, Shea Butter. Shit. Chafing be going. So, but that's how I see it though. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? Like, Shadow of the Colossus, right? They Shadow of the Colossus, they did this, right? They start off with you having a journey, right? And that journey is kind of showing you where you're going, and you apparently have a dead body with you. And they show you it's raining, it's hot, It's a long journey to this place. You finally get there. It's ominous. And you place the body onto the altar. And you look at the body with so many thoughts. I'm going to go through with this. And so you pull out your mystical sword and you call upon the entity that could grant your wish. The entity manifests itself in a voice and states, "Why are you here? Oh, I see that there's a dead body." The guy mentions, "I heard that this is the place where you could bring something back to life." The entity states, "Isn't it true that you can't bring back? The order of things is that when something dies, it stays dead. That's the order of things. Is that not right?" The guy says, "Yeah, it is right. But I heard that you could bring him back to life." Okay. Well, there is a way for you to do it because I do see that you have an item that will do it. Here's how you do it. You destroy each colossus, or you destroy the idols. And the only way to destroy the idols is to destroy the corresponding colossus. Once you do all 16, I'll be able to restore this lady's life. As you go on, you killing these colossus. That's where they have world building and lore, where you start seeing that your main character, is mutating over time. Each fourth colossus that you beat is telling us that they have another cutscene, moving that story along in a chronological order, or an order in general. It's going in a particular direction. And then when you have to, even Blood, so you want to know something? To me, Bloodborne probably has the best story that they've done in that capacity. Bloodborne was one of those games where you had a beginning, middle, and end, and you had an objective. You are sick. You are going to a place that could possibly help you. That's one of my favorite things. When you get there, you realize that, well, there is a blood contract here. There's a blood contract. In order for you to use our shit, you got to do what we say. We can stop you from being sick, but you have to do what we say. And you have to sign this contract. And the contract for this is to make sure that the beasts don't get out of hand. Over time, you start getting an idea from the bosses as to what exactly is truly going on. That's what you start getting. Oh, here we go. Mr. Kerr, what's going on, bro?
What's up, buddy? My bad. I'm outside right now, but no, but I didn't mean to interrupt. You can keep going on with Bloodborne. I'm gonna let you finish, and then I'm gonna jump in.
Okay. As you start killing each boss, as you go, and there's a lot of world building. There's a lot of what the fuck's going on. There's all these caskets all over the place. That will be lore or world building. You fight your first boss in the game, which is that fucking cleric beast. You don't know why you're fighting this thing, but then after you fight this thing and they allow you to progress, you fight the second boss, which is Father Gascoigne. Then he gives you some expedition as to what's kind of going on. You kill him, and then you have to speak to the NPCs. The NPCs are telling you what's kind of happening, so they're telling you the story. Now they do both. That's why I like Bloodborne the best. They do both. They are telling a story in a linear fashion, but if you want more of the story, then you read the items. Then you can go out and do other side quests or whatever the case is. But the story arc is still what it is. You realize that you probably made a grave mistake signing that blood contract. It wasn't all that cracked up to be, because now you get thrown into some shit that it's a lot of shit going on.
Interesting. I found the story in Bloodborne, and mind you, that's like probably my favorite of the games from them. I found the story a little harder to follow. That one was when I had to go back and YouTube and kind of figure out what was really going on. But for Elden Ring, I find it like surprising that everyone's like, oh, this. I'm not saying it's the best narrative, but I think they did a really good job at just like in that intro, right? When you right before the game started, explains to you who Lady America is, her like the children, her shattering the Elden Ring, and you're supposed to go out and reclaim. No receipt. But you're supposed to reclaim like the pieces of the Elden Ring from the kids and put it back together and become Elden Lord. So I felt like the story is pretty straightforward. And as you're going through and you're killing the demigod children, you're collecting pieces of the Elden Ring slowly but surely. And they give you those little cutscenes, and like even after you kill Radon, and he comes back into the sky, and you see the stars and everything shift. Now you have that opening to like complete Ronnie's quest line and go through all of that, and kind of see, what their link is with like Queen America, and that's all just like in the game, like within the first, I think like the first hour that you're playing, it gives you all of that in the cutscene. Now, I think going through the gameplay, it's not holding your hand because you can go into the bosses in whatever order you want, and it's open world. So I think it's a little harder for them to kind of structure something like a Sekiro, for example.
I was going to say that too. Yeah.
That was, where they were able to still keep it cryptic, but because it's more linear, it's like we could feed you the story how you want to, but because this is you have the six, seven demigods and it's open world. I could see where the narrative is not the easiest to follow, but it's definitely there.
I'm not okay. So maybe I need to clarify some things. And I can always admit when I'm wrong. I'm still a little bit confused as to what would be considered a narrative. You know what I mean? Like, because the definition of a narrative in this particular case, what did I put here? The definition of a narrative is a spoken or written account of connected events.
And within the first 30 seconds, I think they give you that narrative with just in that cutscene alone. It's written, it's spoken, and then you also have the quest in between. There's dialogue going on, and it's feeding into that. Queen America is like this person. She did this. She was married to Radadot. And then you keep going to the side quest, and you find out later they're the same people. But that's all told to you through NPCs, through cutscenes, and it's also through written accounts, through items and whatever else.
Well, here's the thing, right? They say, I think the operative word is connected events, and I think because of the open world, that's what's disrupting its narrative. It's because they're not really you have to connect it yourself. And I think that's where people are actually
I could see that. You kind of do, you're making your own story, right? You create your own character. It's like the RPG element.
Well,
but I think
just because you're creating your own story doesn't mean that you can completely forfeit a narrative or chain events. I will say this
for sure, but I don't think they forfeited
So tell me this, right? So tell me this, right? Why are you trying to be the Elden Lord? What makes you? Why? Why?
What was the whole thing? It was the whole stuff with after the first Elden Lord lost his grace, Queen America sent him out. So you're part of that cohort of tarnished that lost their grace, and you're kind of coming back because the ring got broken, but. You wouldn't find that out unless you do a bunch of side quests, but it's there.
But it's not linked up together. But then again, it's still there's no reason for you to be in. Why are you trying to be an Elden Lord though?
Well, I guess it needs to become Elden Lord to hear the Elden Ring. I guess that's the overall.
But you shouldn't be saying I guess. Now let me ask you a question. You seem to like the Souls games, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what was the purpose?
All games.
I don't mean them in particular. So what was the purpose of Demon Souls? What was the story?
Ooh, I couldn't tell you shit about that game. I really couldn't. Mainly because I'm also a quarter of I'm 75% the way done. But I couldn't really tell you.
Did you beat any of the Dark Souls games?
No, I did Bloodborne is my first, Sekiro, Elden Ring, and then Demon Souls remake that I'm like finishing up.
Okay, so that explains a lot of things too, because usually when you have your first Souls game that you beat, that usually takes a hold of you. Like seriously. I was swinging elbows when I beat fucking Bloodborne. I was like, this is the best game ever, and they were like, Josh, they've been doing this formula. No, it didn't. This is the originals. And they were like, bro, like, it's not that original. Yes, it is. Until I played the other ones, and I was like, oh shit, it really is very similar.
Oh yeah, they're very similar. I would definitely say out of like gameplay wise, like I think Sekiro and Bloodborne is probably the strongest deviations away. Like even when you're saying like, you know, Elden Ring, like what like certain things with like weapon swings and whatever, it's like very similar from the previous games. Like yeah, you're right, you're not lying. Like it's nothing crazy, but yeah.
So here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I liked Bloodborne so much is because they lean so far into the occult. You find out some wild shit. Like, okay, your objective is to get better. You know what I mean? To heal your illness. Right. That's your objective, which is a strong, you know, motivation. Mm-hmm. You realize that cure is probably worse than the disease, but now you're fucking knee deep in it. You know what I mean? Now I gotta just like commit. And you realize that you can't just stop because there's ramifications, not with story, but yourself if you do stop. Because now you took the fucking cure, and it will cure you from dying, but then it changes you into a beast, but you don't even know who you are anymore. So it's like, okay, shit. You know.
I get what you're saying. Like, I guess, like in Elden Ring, there's no real, like, as the player character, there's no real objective for you to really do anything with the ring, right? Like, you know, you're past Harnish, you're here. Yeah, you understand the story, but there's nothing, I guess, pushing you to really do that other than, like, your own will as the player.
And I feel like
not do anything and just sit there, right? And collect stuff, which I know some people do, but
I've seen it too. And I feel like when it comes to Elden Ring, that's one they did a lot of strives to make the Souls game convert into like an open world game. Mm-hmm. But then I think that it wasn't a smooth transition for a lot of reasons. What they have there is great. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that this will get Game of the Year because of the shirt. You know what, too? I had this conversation before about what makes a Game of the Year. Mm-hmm. And this is why I'm so certain that this won't get Game of the Year. It's not that it's a bad game, but what makes a Game of the Year is if you like the story or main character. Mm-hmm. That's about it. You can have sloppy ass gameplay like The Witcher. And still get Game of the Year because it has an incredible story.
I mean, so question for you, like, so with the year Sekiro won Game of the Year, I was really happy for them because it was personally my favorite, but I didn't see that coming like from a mile away, like even getting that nomination. And granted, it's the most structured of their stories, but I think of all the games released that year, it was probably like still within that realm of being super like cryptic and not very straightforward and like what you're supposed to do, but somehow it won Game of the Year. So that's like the only reason I'm like, I could see how they could try to give it to Elden Ring this time around, even though the story is not so quote unquote in your face or whatever.
Well, there's still a character. You can have a badass character, right? Sometimes that's all you need is a badass character.
True.
You know what I mean? If the character is cool, sometimes that just win. Because, like, let's be honest here. Like the Uncharted games, the characters are extremely tropey. They're not doing anything amazing with their story, and yet there it is. You know what I'm saying? What Game of the Year? So sometimes people would take a liking to a character and then they run with it. They're like, "Oh shit! Like I really like this character. You know, he made me laugh, or she made me cry, or whatever the case is." And I feel like without the narrative, right? Mm-hmm. Without a strong narrative and a strong story that has a lot of emotional beats, that's what makes you a candidate for like Game of the Year. And I mean, look at fucking Stray. Like,
I don't even know how that got.
Like, huh?
My opinion. I don't mean to. And if anyone likes that game, that's cool. But I was just very surprised to see it up there.
I like it too, but guess what? It has a lot of heart and personality. That's all you need, apparently, for Game of the Year.
Okay, and interesting. I saw Sifu over that getting like a Game of the Year now.
Too
like,
hard. It's not mainstream. It's not mainstream. It's too hard. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. Am I lying?
I mean, it's. I mean, I don't really know. Like, I can't really say because the Game Awards is so like ever since that Sekiro Game of the Year, I'm like, you guys are inconsistent. Because when that game came out, that was that whole discussion going on about game difficulty, and all these journalists who were like pissed off that they couldn't beat it. So, it wasn't very popular, but they gave it to them. So it's like,
There was the people. It was voted by the people though. So like. What happens is that they'll tell what would be a candidate of Game of the Year, and then the people will vote, and then they will be the runner-ups, basically, and then they will vote for those selections. So it's not like the actual award show that's doing it. It's the people that's doing it. So I think there's a lot of discourse and MUT between like journalists and gamers. A lot of the time these journalists are shitty, and I feel like that's another reason why the Souls games became really popular, because now the journalists want to prove that they are real gamers, and that they can jump over an object. You know what I mean?
that could be it. That really could be it. Because to be honest, I didn't see Elden Ring being as big as it was, because it was still low key. Like, I've been following for like a couple of years, but I didn't see anyone really talking about it unless you were like into the Souls game. So to see the kind of like I feel like, when a game can transcend from gaming to like pop culture, and I think God of War does that like very well. Like Red Dead Redemption did that, and I think Elden Ring does that. I feel like those are games that are like, I think that's kind of like your Game of the Year kind of thing, when it's not just the gamers. When I have like when I used to have my roommates and like Red Dead Redemption came out, my homegirl, she came through with her friends, and they were all like running to my room. It's like, oh, are you playing Red Dead Redemption? We keep hearing about, and just sat there just to like watch Red Dead Redemption, just so they could be part of that like pop culture discussion.
Now,
like brought up, and I feel like the same thing kind of happened with Elden Ring, where a lot of people that I didn't even know even cared about gaming or looked that way was like, hey, Kurt, do you have this game? Can I come over and watch it? Whatever. I keep hearing about it. Same thing for like God of War 2018. I haven't seen it too much for Ragnarok. I've seen like the gamer hype, but I haven't seen that pop cultural like impact yet.
You know what you know why I think that is? Oh, by the way, your friends, did they find that Lubriderm lore in your room?
Wait, the what? Wait, come again?
I said, did they find the Lubriderm or Johnson & Johnson or Shea Butter lore in your room?
Yeah, I use Shea Butter as well. No, but yeah, it was just anyway. But
so when it comes to, so I think that Ragnarok set itself right. Mm-hmm. It solidified itself as a really good story, and just in general the whole thing, right? Which is amazing. You go from like this one-dimensional, supposedly quote unquote one-dimensional type game, to one of the best stories that's told, right, in a game. But I feel like people are respecting the game way more than I thought they would. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People are really being careful with not spoiling the game. You know what I mean? Which is crazy because it's on their own volition,
And even for me, like I was going into Ragnarok a little hesitant because I was like, I think one of your first spaces that I ever joined, we were talking about this, and I was explaining to you, I was like, I didn't really connect with the story too much. But this one, I think the story's fantastic. Like it's like really captivating. I'm like, all right, cool. You guys are definitely doing your big one with this.
You know what? I'm gonna say something that's so controversial, and I probably would end it here, for the moment. Because I'm dodging these fucking spoilers like the Matrix, man. I'm starting to see shorts with shit in there, man. I'm like, come on, bro, man. I didn't even say anything about Ragnarok or God of War or Norse mythology or MCU. Like, why am I seeing this shit? Anyway, people are going to get so mad at me. Everyone knows I got a huge vendetta against The Last of Us Part 2. And you want to know why I got a huge vendetta with that game? It isn't
The Last of Us Part 2?
Uh-huh.
I mean, don't. I feel like everyone does. Like, not. I loved it, but I feel like everyone hates that story.
Well, it's not because of Joel. It's not because of the LGBT.
Okay.
You want to know what it is?
I'm curious.
I was doing my little kick. I would go on to 4chan, right?
Uh-huh.
And I would try to get a understanding of the game before it came out, and let people know without any spoilers at all what exactly, you know what I'm saying, what it's about. Like, if it's good, if I'm hearing something good. So my whole thing was like, I've just read the stuff there. It is good, man. Or if I read the stuff here and I'm like, I don't know, man. You know? And so I did this with Death Stranding, right?
Okay.
And no one knew what Death Stranding was at all. So I took it upon myself and I was starting it because I didn't know it either. Somebody was playing it early. So I gathered up enough information without spoiling myself too much, and I reported it. And
Funny enough, I actually just picked that game up too. I picked up that, and I actually got Forbidden West. So in the coming months, you might see some screenshots coming out of that.
Yo, if you need any kind of, I would say this, right? Play Forbidden West. I promise you, play that shit on either an easy or normal.
Don't bump it all the way up.
Don't bump it all the way up. And I'm not saying that shit to say that you're not competent as a gamer. I'm saying that shit because they have a lot of systems that are just very, like, complicated.
Right.
And if you don't do it right the first time, it's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth. You know what I mean?
All right, bet. I mean, I already bought it, so there's no turning back. I have to finish it.
it's you know what I mean, you know, it's like if you messing with somebody, right, and they smell bad the first time. I mean, it may not have been a good day for them, you know, and you don't want you just don't just make sure that the first impression is good. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I got you.
You know, don't get your ass kicked and be like, yo, this game is shit, because the game and a lot of Guerrilla Games IPs are very, you gotta make it look cool. You do. There's no QTEs. There's no like hand animations that does cool things.
Right.
Which I want to actually have a space about this shit one day. I want to have a space about what makes a cool character, because I think that world building. I think, let me just go back. Animations is the thing that actually relays to you what kind of a person someone is. You like Tomb Raider, right? So we're Tomb Raider brothers.
Right. I didn't know you were such a fan. So
I'm like a serious fan of that fucking game, man. But how old are you, by the way? You don't want me asking?
I'm 30.
Okay, cool. So you're in the same, bro. Like, you know when Lara Croft back in the PS1 days, right? When she would walk so daintily, you know. Mm-hmm. When she lands on her fucking like feet, she would like land in that almost like cat-like position without putting her hands on the ground. Like, she has like an incredible balance, you know what I mean? She does everything extremely feminine but graceful, and that relates to you on what kind of person it is. You look at Kratos, right? And everything he does is aggressive as hell. And little by like everything, he can't even open a crate like daintily, you know.
Yo, when that nigga be responding like to everything, yo, that shit be having me fucking dead. I'm like, yo, this dude is really a fucking caveman. Like, he just smash shit and just like grunts all day.
He's actually a smart ass dude, yo. He's a man of little words, and he don't like putting his shit out on blast. You never want to put your shit on the table.
Right. It's cool. I'm starting to come around.
I heard one of the reviews, they say that, right, this game is going to make you appreciate 2018, which I could see that fully. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And at first I was like, what a pretentious thing to say. And as I'm playing it, I'm like, wow, they're right. I think Skill Up, shout out to Skill Up. He's annoying as hell, but he did hit the nail on the head on that one. You know what I mean? I'm not even that much of a big God of War fan, but this one, yeah. I like what he said in the first one. He was like, the blue one is your brother. I was like, oh shit. He never used contractions either, yo. He never shortens words up, yo. He be like, you be like, I can't do it, right? He be like, I cannot do it.
You're talking about Tive?
Yeah.
When he's there, yeah. Very interesting dialogue and conversations with him. I appreciate stuff. He's a very unique character. For the most part.
When I was a baby Spartan, they had me out in the wilds with wolves.
So I guess, did you put your vote in for Game of the Year?
Oh, absolutely, man. It's like not for that one. No, I didn't put the vote in. I don't subscribe to that shit. Anyway, going back to what I was saying before, right? I went back and I looked at some of the stuff for Death Stranding, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, bro, what? This is what I said. I was like, y'all not gonna like what they're gonna say about Death Stranding. It's an experience more so. It almost feels like an indie experience, but with AAA value than an actual AAA game. Like, it's not trying to impress you with theatrics and like crazy ass like bombastic things. That's a lore game. You know what I mean? For sure. So I did that. I got a lot of views for that fucking video. It was one of my first videos where it was just regular content. And not like, a remix of a fucking song. Like, I didn't slow it, I didn't slow it down or do anything music related. Like, it was a big, big thing. And I ended up getting a lot of views for that one. So I'm hearing, this is what the rumor was, that Joel was killed by a transgender. And I don't subscribe to, bro, I don't like woke shit at all. I feel like things need to be natural. In terms of inclusion, not everything needs to be equal because that's not how the world is. Like a representation of the world, I respect more than you trying to make the world into something else. But regardless of the matter, I looked this up. I was like, bro, I don't know if it's transgender, but that's the least of its problems. I was like, there's some crazy shit. I ain't gonna spoil it for you, but I can tell you it's gonna be a lot of people that ain't gonna like it, right? And that's all I said, right?
Right.
I noticed that the video started blowing up quick. And I put in the thing, no spoilers and everything. Right? Mm-hmm. And I start getting comments. And then all of a sudden the comments were deleted. And all of a sudden the video stopped moving in terms of the views. And then I couldn't see my video at all for 24 hours. Like, I couldn't do anything with it. So I had a hit put out on me and a, what do you call that? Shadow ban on my channel.
I was gonna say, did Sony strike your...
They didn't strike it directly, no, because it was under investigation. But they fucked up the flow of my fucking channel. And it was never the same. It was never the same since.
Oh, fuck. Gotcha.
And I was furious, man. It is hard to do this type of content, man, and try to build up and have the morale to continue to do this shit. I was fucking pissed, man. I was furious. And then I see all the stands of this shit, and I'm like looking at it. And to me personally, I don't think the narrative in The Last of Us Part 2 is that great. I feel like there's so many, not even talk about Joel or Ellie or Abby. It's just a weak ass narrative. It's just doing too much.
Bro, I feel like we're completely different people when it comes to like what we like for stories. Because okay, so maybe this is gonna be controversial to say, right? And I started off, and just for context, right? I did the PS1, PS2, 360 for a bit, and then there was that gap, and then I came back around the PS4 Pro era, so I'm still kind of building up my collection, catching on and playing my games. But when I bought when I got the PS4, I didn't really know what Sony exclusives were hot and what was in, what was not, until I was building up the library. And I think The Last of Us Part 2 in particular, I think that's Sony's best narrative that they've come out with. Like, just like compared to the other titles I played so far. Like,
why would you say that?
I really love how it ended. Like, it was very frustrating. Like, there's parts of the game where I was like yelling at the TV, like, "Yo, what the actual fuck?" But I really like how they did the dual. Like, I like the back and forth between Abby and Abby and Ellie in the same during the same time period. I think they could have probably smoothed that out by doing it day by day instead of doing 3 days and then reverting back and then doing another 3 days. It probably would have went together really well. But like even to that point where you kind of think the story is like gonna come to a close, like she gets her. And sorry if I'm spoiling this, but she gets her arms like pushed in and everything. You kind of think that's the end of it, and then she has the PTSD, and she's like willing to like uproot her life. That's like pretty set, especially when her fear was to like end up alone from the first game, and she gets up, leaves the wife and kids, and she's like, nah, fuck that. I need to go get revenge, and it's just like going through like I feel like in that second part of the journey is when she started to realize like, yo, this is not me. And even playing through that game, I realized like Ellie's probably one of my favorite characters in like a video game, just because we got to see her grow from like being a little kid to like an adult now, and it's just like that's not Ellie. That's not Ellie like knocking people in the face with pipes and just like on this murderous like rampage and everything. So I thought it was cool, and I thought it was really cool to see everyone's reaction, regardless how you felt about the story, because I think a really good story is very like it's not going to be liked by all. It's going to be a bit polarizing, and I think the discussions that kind of come from the discussion that kind of comes from that is more important than like if everyone just all said, "Oh, the story was great. This is my favorite part of the end." But
well, let me say this. I'm not saying that the story is bad, right? I'm saying that the way it was handled was poorly, and I'll explain this to you, right? What is your favorite? Because it sounds like you like a lot of like either movies or shows as well. Am I accurate?
Yeah. I don't watch too much TV, but I do I'm starting a Blu-ray collection. I'm a big horror movie guy.
Horror movie, okay. What is your favorite? Do you like shows or movies?
I prefer movies.
All right. What's your favorite movie?
It's either The Black Swan or Changeling with Angelina Jolie and Clint Eastwood.
Let's go with the
Actually,
Black.
I'm gonna go with Changeling. I'm actually gonna go with Changeling because that was actually that's 6-7 different story plots happening at once. But
so you like intricate stories, okay? Now I'm seeing. Okay, so let me go to the Black Swan, right? What was the narrative with that one? Really quickly, what was the summary of that?
What was it? The Natalie Portman. She's the ballerina, and she wanted the role as like lead ballerina in the play, and she was like obsessed with like perfection, and she kept pushing herself to be perfect until she basically kind of had like a mental breakdown. And then at the actual play of the show, like from all the practicing and just like the hallucination from like, trying to get that part and getting it, she ends up like killing herself to make it like very, I guess to really put like a dot at the end of it to say that you will never be like a swan queen like her again, because she actually died during her performance. I think she really got into the role. But like how we got from like just the start of it to the very end, and it's a movie about ballerinas. That shit is a wild ride. But just a high level summary.
I remember I've seen that movie a while ago, and I can't remember it, not because of the movie itself, but it was a lot of shit going on during that movie's release. But
it was
personally, not the movie, but like
another obtuse movie too. Like it has weird storytelling too, because it uses like a lot of imagery and colors to like do that, because it's all about duality and balance and that yin and yang, and just like no one's really like that perfection that people chase. But go on.
See, I don't mind that, but here's the thing, right? What if, right, you like the way that movie was going, and all of a sudden she has a mental breakdown, and she was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna be like a plastic girl. I'm gonna be a violet girl." And they play that music. I'm coming out, and she comes out with red lips, pink lipstick, and she like, you be like, what the fuck is happening? Like tonally, like it doesn't make, to me. That's the problem with The Last of Us. Like they didn't respect the characters in the prequel or in the predecessor. And I mean, the guy could die, she could still get her revenge, but they function like a completely different character. Ellie, even losing her mom, losing fucking her best friend, you know what I mean? her personality was, I need to always see the brighter things. She almost lost Joel in the first game where he was like, oh, I want this fucking kid. You know what I mean? Even when he was so nasty to her.
Right.
She still tried to keep a bright head on things. You know what I'm saying? Joel was a guy that was heavily guarded, and then like she became like such a okay. Let me go back to Ellie. She became such a fucking bitch.
But remember, she's also a teenager now.
See. I don't want it. No, don't try to inject no realism in this bitch. No, you can't be moody like 24 hours a day, man. Her dreams are moody. She wakes up, she's moody. She don't even use any. She's not even a jokester like she used to be anymore. And try to lighten the mood. Joe is just, he became like a soft bitch. You know.
But to be fair, we picked up the story. Your recap is hilarious. Yeah, but to be fair, we kind of picked up the story where it was like the day before the whole thing happened with Joel, and they weren't even talking because of that whole how the part one ended. So like she's cold towards him in general, but I could imagine just her knowing the truth now, knowing that like Joel lied to her and everything. I could imagine that just changes her personality, just like in terms of.
She already no. I gotta cut you off. She already.
Am I trying to cap for her?
Bro, that's hardcore cap. Number one, right? When it comes to Ellie, she already knew what kind of a person she was, and you know how I know is in the first game she says when he was like they don't need no help, and he tried to run her over and she switched it. She was like, "Did you do this too?" He was like, he didn't really answer it, so she realized. This dude he did some fucked up shit. You know what I'm saying? And on top of it, he was nasty to her. So it wasn't like you go from I'm sorry, but I can't let you just keep following us. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I can't let you do this to baby girl too. If I ever wanna lose you, I just say lose. Come on, Ellie. I'm not, sir. No, we're not doing this shit, man. I mean, he became a soft marshmallow. I couldn't believe my eyes playing that fucking game. I said, who's this dude? I picked you some flowers, Ellie. It was too strong. Like, that's what I'm saying. They could have did it better and still kept the continuity of the story. But I picked you some lilies, Ellie. I was out all day picking these flowers.
It sound like homeboy is just walking around, just all like fancy, like just free.
He is. He might as well. Yo, I'm telling you right now. No offense to LGBT, yo. He was real soft, yo. He was soft. He was like, I just went to the store and got me some coffee. Do you want some lattes? I got some lattes, Ella. I was like, who is this dude? You got some grizzled dude who turned into Ella? I'm like, no, don't do this.
All right. I'm not gonna. Okay, I can't even. You know, I'm not even inject the realism into it anymore. I'm just gonna let it be.
No, I mean, like I said before, if he kept his personality, he still was guarded. You know what I mean? But still, kind of was like angry with her. Like, what is wrong with you, girl? You know what I'm saying? I did what I had to. You know, I would have been like, all right, cool. And I don't think she would have reacted that way. Fucking crying about her. You know what I mean? What's going on, Flo? I don't think she would have did that. There was no cure. Oh my God, don't touch me. You should have let me die. Little bitch. I'm like, oh boy.
She wanted her life to mean something.
I want to die. She did all that work to soften up Joel, only to somehow, in the middle of it all, want to die. I can't.
It's interesting. It's almost like their personality is split.
You are adding extra fucking shit to that, man. Bro. You doing the work for them. You doing the Lord's work with this fucking story, man. Absolutely not. I ain't gonna give that shit to him, yo.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it alone.
But I say it ain't. It's just like the continuity of the story wasn't my liking. You know what I mean? Because it's like I knew, like you could see what kind of person they were prior to, and it wasn't like a coherent evolution. You know what I mean? It was just like really wild, and there's some corny things that I wasn't liking narratively. Like Ellie killed the pregnant girl, right? And she realized that she was pregnant. She threw up, right? She threw up in one spot, and she was like, "Let me get out of here," right? Then Abby came in there, right? And she was like, "Oh no, girl that has the voice of Aloy from Horizon, she's dead." And then she threw up in the same spot as fucking Ellie. Like, no.
I actually didn't peep that, but that's actually pretty cool.
I knew you would like that shit. Of course you would like that.
That's actually really neat.
Of course you would like that. Now I get it now. Of course you would like it, man.
I like those little things. Like, oh, what did the writer have in mind? Like, what are you trying to do? It's like, oh, okay.
You sound just like one of my friends, man. Y'all some corny ass niggas. Yo, if you would have saw me live play that game, yo, I rolled my eyes so fucking hard. I said, I know this bitch didn't throw up in the same spot, man. No, sir, Naughty Dog, no.
So you're not a Neil Druckmann fan, I think. Are you gonna watch the series?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have an interest in it really. In general, like I feel like,
Gotcha.
And that's what I mean. Like when you create something, right? You still have to respect your clientele, man. I can't run a McDonald's, man, and then all of a sudden say, you know what? I feel like McDonald's food is unhealthy. I'm going to start making crab cakes. Fuck them Big Macs. You can't, you know what I mean? I expect Big Macs from McDonald's, not crab cakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how, to me, Naughty Dog was. They shamed you for liking their old shit. And, like, for instance, I like music, right? It's Outkast, right? Andre 3000.
Nice.
He started singing. And that was a new avenue for the whites to, like, listen to him, right? But he still rapped, too. And he would do that interchangeably. Like, he tried to keep, like, he expanded his clientele, but he didn't abandon the other one for another. And I feel like Naughty Dog didn't do that. And I feel like Santa Monica actually knew their balance and didn't spit on the people that made them famous.
Oh, when they did, like, God of War and stuff?
When they did God of War, like, people, they know damn well people like Joel in general, right? And so for Joel to be as disrespected as he was, and then you force the person that they build up Joel to make you like him as an anti-hero. They made him cool as fuck, right? And then you get killed. Like, why the bitch was beefing herself up only to kill him with a golf club? Like, what? Why the muscles? You should have had you should have had fisticuffs. If you built all that muscle just to use a fucking tool anyway. And I don't know if anyone held a golf club that will crack somebody's head open immediately, man. Like a fucking walnut. So I'm going to say this, right? All right, fine. So you disrespect him. He's not acting the same way. He's doing stupid shit, right? Fine, whatever. He got soft because he's in Jackson, right? But then you make me play the person who did it, and then you try to make me like it. And then another thing that they did too, I'm sure you'll like this shit too, is that Ellie was killing fucking dogs, and Abby was playing with them.
Yeah, I saw like those moments where they were trying to like show Abby like she's being cool, and it's like she's afraid of heights, and it's like even like her whole relationship with the one dude, where he got the other chick pregnant, but she was like fucking him the night before. Like they both got like, yeah. Anyway, the whole thing, I wasn't buying into it. Like I don't mind Abby. I didn't like at first I was like I really don't want to play this bitch. But then when I saw what her arms could do on some clickers, I was like, wait, hold on.
Her gameplay was fun as shit though. Her gameplay was fun, but like to me, you want to since y'all motherfucking Last of Us stands want to talk about fucking injecting reality to this dumbass shit, right? How come she was with Lev, right? Found a fucked up mask, right? That had fucking clicker juice all over that shit. Here, Lev, put this on. You won't get sick. The shit had spores all over it, and she gave it to her, and she didn't get sick. Like you punching the shit out these mushrooms, and I'm sure spore spatter is going all over the fucking place.
Right.
You know, she's fucking body slamming these motherfuckers. I'm sure you got a cut on your hand for fucking with these sharp ass wooden mushroom shits. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I can't, you know, you talking about realism. Like, I don't know. I feel like they didn't respect their fan base. You know what I mean? If I was a musician and I rap like Biggie Smalls and all of a sudden, you know, I came out of nowhere. Can you cry? People are like, oh, hell no.
Wait, what the fuck happened there?
If I start rapping like that, man. After rapping like you know, I got what is it? I got a honey on the Amtrak with the crack and the crack of her ass, 2 pounds of hash to the stash. Hell no, it don't match. No, I feel like it was disrespectful. Now you say you like horror movies, right? Now you talking about body gore, or you talking about psychological horror?
I'm a big fan of like your classics, like give me a guy with a knife like running down people and just like, you know, tormenting them in the house. Like I enjoy those, like new age horror. Like I enjoy the like the Midsummers of the world, whatever. They're cool. To my favorite horror movie is like the Scream franchise, like all 4 of them, like all of the first 4 movies. But take what you will with that.
I personally, right? I like how people really are so stand for The Last of Us, yo. People hate when I talk about that fucking game. They're like, I hate that you're right. You making it feel ugly when I play it. Oh well, I don't care. I'm exposing this nonsense. No stone left unturned. I was talking about them Japanese gamers and Japanese developers. I'm gonna talk about Western dumbass shit too. But I was gonna say I like psychological horror for sure. Like that Ring, I ain't want no parts of that movie, and I don't like horses either because of that movie.
The Ring. That was the one with the. Was that the one with the bitch fell down the well, right?
Yeah, that's her.
Like
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
I don't like horses, man. I seen them horses and he ran off the. I mean, I don't like no horses. Of that movie. That movie did it. No more horses. But I like shit like that. Silent Hill is my favorite game.
Okay.
Actually, Silent Hill made me not like horror movies because they're just not scary anymore.
Oh wow, interesting.
But I will say that the slashers is different. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Because it's like the slash. I think slashers are that you don't have to think too hard. It's very about, you know. There's not much really going on. Crazy person, knife, victim. Maybe there's some like a loose story or something, but that's about it. It's not like what was the last movie? The last horror movie I saw that really blew my mind was this one called Malignant. And I think the guy, I forgot what movies he made before this. I think he did one of the Saws and he did something else that was off the rails. But yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a very slow burn of a movie. And the way since we're talking about narratives, the narratives in that movie, it's very, I will compare it to like the Souls thing. It's very, what the fuck is going on? You're getting these random clips of stuff and they're somehow connected, but you're not really sure how up until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. And I think that last 20 minutes of the movie was worth the full ticket price. And
Saw was good though. Saw was really good.
Huh? Saw
was really good too.
Yeah. And there's a scene in that movie, and after seeing that, I was like, yo, we need a Devil May Cry movie ASAP, and I want this guy to direct it. And I won't spoil it, but it's crazy if you ever just, you know, have some free time.
I heard about somebody was saying that Malignant was pretty good, man. But you know, like, because for whatever reason, when I have dreams, it's dark, my dreams, man. I don't really watch fucked up things, but it is dark. And I don't know where it's coming from either, man. It's like, it doesn't seem like a figment of my imagination at all. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a part of me, but like, you know, like for instance, I had a nightmare, right? I was driving home. This is the actual real world. I was driving home one day, and I would see these trash bags on the side of the road that I was driving on. It's kind of rural area and stuff like that. And it was like leaves, essentially. They were putting, leaves in the bags and leaving them on the side so another car, I think it's prisoners that would do, community service. And I went home, I played some games, and I went to sleep. And I woke up in my dream as if like 30 years have passed, it felt like. I was older. And whatever it was, I already knew.
You were older?
I was older in my dream. And whatever, and I went to sleep in reality and woke up in the dream. Right? Whatever it was, I knew that something terrible happened years ago. And the life that I was living is because of it. You know what I mean?
Okay, interesting.
So I remember it seemed pretty calm. Like it was nothing crazy going on, but I remember I had to put on this blue jumpsuit, right?
Okay.
And these boots. And I remember feeling so depressed, man. I'm like, man, when is this shit gonna end, man? And it was like when I was in the dream, I already knew, like I didn't have to recall it because I was living it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have to think about this shit because it was already there.
One of those dreams where it's like, oh, I know I'm dreaming, but it's like, shit, I'm stuck in here.
No,
kind of thing?
no, man. Like it was because the dreams that I have, they tend to be very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So I was waiting for the bus to come pick me up. I knew that much because I didn't have my own car for some reason. So I get outside and I go into like one of these like almost like these school bus type thing or a prison bus, whatever you want to call it. And our objective was to go to the beach. And we had these hazmat suits on. And they dropped us off at the beach. And my objective was to clean the bodies that were washing up on the beach. There was dead bodies everywhere. And I had to take the bodies and put them.
Whoa.
Bro, where the fuck did that come from? I don't know.
And your dreams are constantly like that? Not maybe like that, but within that realm of just like, whoa, like.
If I get a weird dream, it's never a dream where it's weird shit is going on, like where you walking on the ceiling or whatever. It's stuff like that, and it almost sounds like plausible. Whatever happened was a catastrophic event, and there wasn't that many jobs out there in the world, and you didn't have that much choice or freedom. And in order for me to keep my house or the place that I was living at, I had to do this job for the wages. And it was dead bodies on the beach, and I would just pick them, put them in a bag and set them aside. Now, I told you, maybe, I don't know where my brain went as I was driving home, like in reality. Maybe, I don't know. I remember this also too, right? This is the other dream that's kind of like borderline weird. I was walking out of a grocery store. And as I was walking, I heard a couple sounds of like gunshot, pow, pow, pow. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh.
And then all of the people from the grocery store and other stores, it was like a plaza. They all rushed over to this one girl. She was on the ground. And all of a sudden, I was in the hospital, but like I was watching the operation.
Oh, on the girl.
From the girl. And what they were doing was, I would say about 2/10 of her head was like, kind of like sliced, like a loaf of bread. They were like slicing layers of her head, and I remember she was kind of like shaking as this was happening, and then she just looked at me, like her eyes, as like half of her head was gone. She looked at me, and I immediately woke myself up out of that shit, yo. I was like, why though? But why?
Do you eat before bed?
Not anymore. No.
You don't do anything. Okay. I mean.
Back then, probably. But I don't think that food would give you an idea like that. So.
No, the thing is, like they say, like if you have like a heavy meal or something, or you go to bed, and I've noticed this with myself sometimes. Like if I eat heavy, if I fall asleep to like YouTube and I allow YouTube to just continuously play as I'm asleep, I'll have the weirdest, most fucked up dreams. And I'm like, yo, where the fuck did I come from? I'm like, oh, I either ate or I fell asleep with something on my head. But yeah, you should like do a dream journal and then just see like if you're doing anything in particular prior to having like one of those crazy dreams to see if you could find like some sort of trend.
I haven't had those dreams in like, it was 10 years. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, nice.
the other dreams that I have is I don't have like lucid dreams. I don't have I don't have weird dreams, I should say. The dreams that I typically have is, I don't want to be vulgar or anything like that, but it is what it is, right? I go to sleep.
I feel like I could piece together.
What you say?
I feel like I can fill in the blanks without, you know.
No,
without
you just go to sleep and you wake up and I'm like watching porno, and I'm like, but why did I need to sleep for that? I don't understand. The fuck is this? I don't have normal, like my dreams are either extremely normal, realistic, and fucking what do you call it? Dystopian, or nothing. I don't know. It's
I've been having this reoccurring dystopian dream, like prior to before COVID, where I just kept seeing, like, I was with all my friends who were all just basically waiting for the world to end kind of thing. And then when COVID actually happened, and then like the city shut down and everything, and we were all kind of like together, it didn't look one for one from my dream, but I was like, holy shit, this is what I've been seeing for like the past 2 years, like going in and out when I was asleep. So sometimes there could be a message there. You just, you know.
I feel like people don't give that. I feel like people don't want to give that shit no play. Honest to God, it could have something. Maybe when you dream, you leave your body or see different timelines. I don't fucking know. Whatever it may be, I really suspect that it's some wild shit with dreams, because it to me it always feels this way anyway. Like there's always like crazy ass fucking shit. I could tell you. There was this one dream where like a nuke went off, and it was in the city of Philadelphia is where it actually went off, and it was nothing I could do. All of my family were eviscerated. I was way far away from them.
Oh shit! Wow! Is that where you're from originally, Philly?
Well, New Jersey.
Oh wow! So you're what part of Jersey?
South Jersey.
South Jersey? Oh, like Camden?
Not that south.
Not south. Okay, gotcha. Cool. What's up?
Right, you know people there?
Yeah, my homeboy, like one of my good friends, he lives in Linden, so I go out there to see him. And then my customer, they're based out in Princeton, so I have to go there like once a month.
Are you in New York or are you in New York or New Jersey?
I live in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, right over there. But
I would have got the fuck out that damn city, man.
Yo, bro, when everything happened and the pandemic hit, I was looking at my roommates and I had like some savings, and I was like, yo, I'm about to like fucking move to Chicago or something and leave the city to ya. But then what happened was, it's like, I guess everyone had that idea to leave the city, so it was actually like more expensive to do all of that. So I was like, well, I guess if I go down with the pandemic, I'm going down with it here, kind of thing. But it worked out.
I would still get the hell out. Look, Chicago, absolutely not, man. That's like jumping out of a fire and into a fryer pan.
Wait, you think? Chicago looks so like, it looks like New York City, but cleaner and cheaper. It looks like a cleaner version of New York City. That's why I was like, oh, I could do there. And like, I can't do suburban living. I need to be like in a metro city, or like I'll lose it.
Go to Miami.
I've heard that, and I don't. So the thing is, I liked all 4 seasons, so I do like that.
Here we go. I'm moving to Florida.
Huh?
I'm moving to Florida.
Oh, okay. Where are you right now?
Huh?
Where are you right now?
Jersey.
Oh, so you're in Jersey right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And you want to move down to Florida?
Mm-hmm.
During the
Audi
migration south.
Audi. Florida or maybe the Carolinas, one of them two is where I want to go.
But you know, Jersey's actually really nice. Like, you know, people always make fun of Jersey, and then like since I've been going there so much, I'm like, yo, this is actually a really beautiful state. Like, they have nice little pockets like here or there.
Oh no, it's a beautiful state for sure. It's just that there's a lot of exclude, like there's class dynamics that I don't like.
Oh yeah, I could already, when I go out to Princeton, I could already tell there's some bullshit, because there's no public transit out there to Princeton other than one shuttle to take you back to some train stations. Like, oh, these rich white folks don't want none of y'all out here.
There's the
like,
beach, LBI, in New Jersey, right? It takes forever to get to there where I'm at. I go over there. I can count all the black people on one hand. That whole fucking area, yo.
Oh, in Princeton?
No, and like LBI, Long Beach, Long Branch. I don't know, one of them. I forgot what it is. Regardless of the matter, it's like it's right there, and those people are fucking snooty as hell, man. They be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe one of them could talk."
Yeah, and it's like that over here. Like even like the city is like that mixing melting pot. But I feel like if you're in certain areas or you live in certain areas, you always get like a funny look. So like when I got my apartment, right? So I'm in the Upper East, and my landlord saw me. He gave me this look, and he was just like, "Oh, are you the guy that I'm renting to?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." He was like almost shocked, like, "Oh shit!" Like I rented to a black guy.
Oh, I didn't know you guys could talk.
Right. It was very much like, oh crap! Like, well, how did you get this far?
Wow, aren't you
beforehand?
Aren't you guys supposed to be in the, what do you call it, the ghetto?
Right. They're like, oh, so you're coming from Harlem? That's the ghetto, right? And I'm like,
try to whisper it and shit too. Is it the ghetto? Oh, you bitch. No, but I mean, it's not that it's not that bad. But I don't like seasons anymore. I'll never like the cold. Like today is a struggle. It's like 30. It's freezing. Isn't it snowing where you're at? No, that's Buffalo.
No, that's up to date. Yeah, but it was brick today. Like I just went out to go get like all the games. Like the Best Buy was having this crazy deal, so I got I'm posted on the timeline: Gran Turismo, Horizon, Uncharted, Death Stranding. And then I got like a 2 terabyte extension for the PS5. Everything like came to like $370.
Wait. You do realize that they don't hold PS5 games, right? Those external hard drives.
Oh no, this is not the external. This is the internal thing. So
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, oh shit, because I've been trying to find one, but they were a little on the pricier side. But they had like a Black Friday deal. So I was like, yo, let me just grab all this today.
Gran Turismo is a game that is very is an acquired taste. It's very hard to get into. So
okay. I'm just trying to. One of the things I wanted to do when I got the PS5 was like, I just wanted to buy, even if I'm not 100%. Like you know how I felt about Horizon when I was asking you and everything, but it's still like, let me get the experience for myself, kind of thing, and still have it there. So I could at least say like, hey, I tried it, whatever the case may be, or if someone else comes by, it's like, oh, you can play this, I don't play it, kind of thing. Just like getting like a collection started.
I kept buying Gran Turismos and never really playing them. This is the only one that I really put a lot of investment into. So there's that.
So are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. It has a certain there's a certain type of swag to that game. You know what I mean? Okay. It's not an arcade game at all. So you can't. You gotta be on point all the time. There's no oops, I made a mistake, let me auto correct it and I'll just power slide out of it. Nah, you make a mistake, that's pretty much the race. Not that your car breaks, but like they expect perfection out of your shit, yo.
Right, because it's more simulation of driving, like the different cars. It's not like you are racing, but they're more focused on the realism of the actual car simulation. It's not like a Need for Speed where it's just like fly off the handles and your basic controls kind of thing, right?
Yep.
I take it.
For me, what I do is, and I wish they had an easier way of doing it, I'll do 4 tracks or 4 laps, and I will set the time of day to 30 times so I can get the whole, you can see the sun literally go from east to west or whatever. Right?
I'm actually excited to play it now.
Yeah.
Mainly just because I've seen some of the clips and it looks visually stunning.
It is a nice looking game. You just see, for what I would say is make your own custom race, set the time of day. You can set the weather to be random, and you just basically I like to kind of zone out and kind of listen to the music as I'm driving, and it really Nelson is so stupid. I can't stand them. Anyway, I'm gonna call this shit a wrap here. I'm gonna start playing my fucking games.
No, for sure. I was gonna say I need to. I think I'm closing up on the Ragnarok story, so I'm trying to wrap it up by Monday. So I'm gonna jump back on that.
I can't wait, man. It's getting juicy. But
it's getting wherever I am in the story, I'm like, okay. And now I'm at this point where I just want to keep pushing through everything because I need to see the outcome. Like, I already know Loki's a fuck up, but I need to see the fuck up happen.
Yeah, about that, man. Like, whoever was writing that story, like, I'll say this, man. Everything that happened is all for a reason. The littlest fucking things is like, in the first game, like, why did this happen? Oh, because it fucking, you know what I mean? It's all reason, which is crazy. They kept the narrative, like, tight.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Sure.
But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. I know I was trying to do this shit in an hour, and your ass jumped in, so thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Sure, man. Anytime. Good. Always good to touch, bro.
Not a problem, guy. You take care, man. You too.